Good morning and welcome back. Thank you for joining me for Danger Aware Animation Department. And today we're going to talk about 2.5D in Moho 14 Pro. So when you see Moho 14 Pro and it says it's 2.5D, a lot of people don't get what does that mean, okay? And I've myself had trouble working with it in the beginning. So I decided I'm going to do the stage. I just recently finished a video called The Performance, and they are on a stage. And I'm going to take that stage and I'm going to do a internal of that stage so that we can see what's going on behind the scenes in the stage world, okay, of the ants. Now, to do that, I need to I need to make a 3D environment. And in Moho, we can do that. I think if you've watched my other videos, I've often said, with Moho, we can do 2.5D, but I don't deal with it. And that's the Z axis of the XYZ values here. When you build an object in Moho, it's two-dimensional. It doesn't have any true depth to it. It's still going to be a flat object no matter what you do. And so when you're building an animation in Moho, you've got to think of it as if you're looking at a diorama that's in a shoebox. And today I'm going to build the shoebox in Moho. So let's just get started because I know you don't want to hear me talk. So what we're going to start with is we want a square that's 1 unit in length and width. So I'm going to start right on the line here. I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to drag down and to the right until I have the box that's 1 image size complete. So there we go. And I'm going to pick it up and move it to the center. And I want it actually centered. So if you want to get it exact, you want to zoom in like this so that you can move everything a little bit at a time to get it exactly where you want it. And yeah, you can get so close that there's no way to make it exactly on top of the other line because you just can't. So you can see there I can go on one side of the line or the other, and I'm directly on the line up and down, but I can't also be on the center point left and right. But I can be close, and when we zoom out, because I've zoomed in so close, it's effectively exact. All right. So now we've got a box, a sheet that's 1 layer thick. All right. This is going to be our floor. But before I call it floor here, I want to duplicate it because I want 5 of these. So I'm going to duplicate it 4 more times. So now I've got 5 elements. They're all exactly the same and in the exact same spot. So the first one is going to be our floor. And so let's grab that floorboard and we're going to give it a floor color. So let's make it this color brown here. Or maybe a little darker. We'll go with that. So if I turn all these off, you can see that we've got the brown one for the floor. And then we're going to have the right wall. Now this is the right wall to the characters. Then we're going to have the left wall. And we're going to have the back wall. And finally, we're going to have a ceiling. And it's going to be open towards us. So that's why I'm not adding a 6th side. So we're going to build 5 parts of a cube here. So we're going to start with the floor. And what we want to do is we want to flip the floor 90 degrees away from us so that it would then be in the other plane. So if we look at them all right now, we can click these workplace tools and we can rotate that workplace tool and we can see that everything is simply just a flat, thin line. When you look at it from the side, it's one dimensional. There is no depth to it. So we're going to, you can see that we're in a 3D environment. We can rotate those layers and see them from all directions. And what is this arrow thing here? Well, if we zoom in on it and take a look at it, what it is, this is a camera representation. And what it's showing you is that the camera is pointing towards that object, and this is the opening at which it is capturing the image. So we can rotate and we can see, well, if we were standing behind the camera and we centered the camera, we're going to be right in the center of our box, just like that. So there's our center looking straight at our floor. But we want the floor to be the other direction. So we're going to use the layer tools, and this layer tool is XY rotation. We can rotate this in the X or the Y plane. So we're going to go 90 degrees, and so now it's turned flat to us. So if we go back to our 3D look, we can see now that that is down on the floor. If we look at the right wall, it's still up and it's in the center. They both have the same center point. So whatever we do is going to happen at the center or at the origin of the object. If I was to move the origin here to the bottom, then I could rotate it from that point. But we want to leave them in the middle here. So we're going to go to this right wall. And this is going to be to characters right, which would be our left. But we want to rotate this one on the Y plane. So we put 90 for the Y value for rotate XY. And there we go. So now you can see that our wall is in the middle of the floor and it is 90 degrees to the floor. So now what we want to do is put the floor at the bottom of the wall, because when we flip the other walls, they're also going to flip at the center. So let's just go ahead and do that. Here's the left wall. We're going to flip that at 90 degrees. Whoops, I want to be on that left wall. There we go. So now we can flip that 90 degrees. So now we got our left and right wall, and the back wall doesn't flip. It just stays upright, but we're going to move it, but we're not going to move it from the by rotating it. So if we go back and look at the rotational now, you can see we've got all three parts, all four of them actually, but we're not seeing all of them because the ones in the middle, the walls, are covering up the floor and we can't see the floor, and that's really not what we want. We want to be able to see it as a room basically. So we're going to start with the floor and we're going to drop its X or its Y value. So we're going to go to the layer control. So we want to drop it by 1 unit down. So I want -1 to go down. So now the floor is at the bottom of those unit boxes. So I did this using 1 full unit to make it easy. Doing this with not exacting parts is much harder. I get it, but I figured this is the easiest way to explain it where you can understand what's happening. So now we've got our boxes, but it's obviously not a box yet. We've got our walls. So we go back to the front and we want to send our right wall on the X plane 1 unit. And then that puts it to the left side of the character, and that's not where we want it. So again, we want to go with -1 unit here. So now we've got the wall to the right side of the character. Now we're going to do the left wall by going with +1 on the x-plane. So there we've got that. And then the back wall needs to go back -1. And now we have our cube, but we're not showing the ceiling yet. So let's grab the ceiling. We're going to rotate the ceiling on the x-plane by 90 degrees. And then we're going to move it up on the y-plane +1. So here we've got our cube. And we can look inside the cube and everything is just as it should be. Our sides are where they should be, our top is where it should be, and our bottom is where it should be. Let's make this a little easier. So we're going to go to the right wall and we're going to grab it and we're going to change it to a red color. All right, then we're going to go to the left wall and we'll make it blue. And then we'll go to the back wall and we'll make it green. And then we'll go to the ceiling and we'll make it yellow. So now it's much easier to see what's happening as we rotate our view. So as we rotate the view, the wall on the left seems to be disappearing, but it's not. What it is we're limited here in the layers by what gets shown when we're looking from a particular direction. Now, the main thing you've got to remember is that when we're working in the environment here, the workspace, this is not what production will produce. So we're not going to see it like this in production. We can't rotate like this in production. We can, but not with these tools. These tools are for doing work. This is why they called it the workspace. So we can rotate our box, but as you can see, the red wall is not showing because of where it's at in this list. If we wanted the red wall to be above everything, we would move it all the way to the top. So now, let's not select it for coloring. And now we can see that the red wall looks proper. When we rotate, it's taking over this side of the cube. So again, we can look at the center of the cube and it looks like a normal inside of a cube. But when we rotate, now the red takes over as it should until we go all the way around to the back. And now we can see the back is green, but we're seeing the ceiling when we shouldn't be. So we need to move the green wall, which is the back wall, above the ceiling. So now we can see the green wall as we should within the work environment. But again, as we rotate, now we've got the blue wall. So now we'd have to go and put the blue wall in its proper place. And this is all going to be true when you go to do the camera work as well. So if we looked at a camera, and to do the camera, we need to reset the workspace. So we're going to reset the view on the workspace, and now we can work with our camera, and we can see what we can do with the camera and this cube. But as you can see, when we do the same thing, here we go, we've got the red on the right side, and on the left side we got blue, but as we move to the left, it's now behind both the ceiling and the back wall, because it's behind the ceiling and the back wall right here. The left wall is below. So when we're working with the box in animation, say we wanted to animate this box moving from here to there, just like that. We want that look, but we want this, wall to show. And we want to go the other way as well. So let's just do that. Let's do a quick little animation. We'll start on frame 1, and let's go back here. Let's just group this all as the box. So we're going to call this a group with selection and the box. All right. So now we can do an animation of it. We can go here, and then we select the layer for the box. That way we're not moving each individual part. And actually we're moving the camera, so it doesn't matter. But so we're going to start with the camera here. Then we're going to go 2 seconds in, and we're going to move it so we can see that the right wall is covering the inside of the box. And then we're going to go another 2 seconds, and we're going to slide it up so you can see that the floor disappears at this point. Then we're going to go 2 more seconds, and we're going to slide it on across. And as we're sliding across, we'll come back down to normal. And then at this point, we're going to go across this way, and we can see what's happening to the character's left wall. And then we'll go in a little further and go to the end, and we'll just reset everything. So now we play the animation. All right, so there's our little animation, and we want to go, well, we want to see that right wall when it comes across, and that floor. So we want to see this floor, so what can we do? Well, there's a number of ways we can handle this in Moho. The easy way is to go into the box and go to depth sort and enable animated layer order. And what that means is while we're animating in the animation frame, we can move these layers around. So we're going to back up to the point at which the floor becomes visible, or invisible actually. So right there, that's where we're seeing the floor straight on, and now we want to move it so that it's above the wall, and that should do it just right there. So now as we continue forward, oh wait, it didn't go far enough. So let's go ahead and go up to the right wall. There we go. So now we've got the floor, but we need to go back to 73 and move it then. And you can see, well, it moved back. If we go to the box, we can see where that action took place, and we just move it to where we want it. So now, as the box goes on up, we can now see the floor. And then it comes across, and the red is good. We're still seeing the red. We're seeing the inside of the box. And then we come across, and now the blue wall is going invisible. So the left wall needs to come up and be on top of everything else at this point. And then from here on, we will see that wall. And let's get rid of the selection of changing its color. So now we see the wall transition to being on top of the floor and ceiling, and then we come back to normal. Now, I should have added in the drop down for the ceiling, but it's just basically the same thing. Is when we get to the point when it becomes invisible, we simply need to change the sort order here so that we get the look that we want out of that box. All right, now that works great for a solid color box, but if it was textured or an image, the image would be flipping reversed left and right, depending on which side of the wall or whatever we're looking at. So let's just go ahead and bring in a character here. So let's go back to the construction layer, and right in front of the back wall, we're going to insert an image. And I've already got ant pose ready here. So here's my ant, and we're going to just reduce his size so that he fits within our cube. Now I'm looking at the green background size because that's what we're looking at. But the green is going off in the distance. When you move these things in Z-axis, they maintain their look depending on how you're looking at it. So we can zoom around, we can see our ant is in the center of our cube there. And again, the walls are still going to disappear, going behind the other walls, depending on how we're adjusting the layout here. Now, I want that ant right against the back wall. And we know that for the back wall we went -1. So let's go to the ant and we're going to move its distance. And in the z-axis we're going to go minus 0.99 because we don't want it to be in the wall or behind the wall. So we want it to be in front of the wall no matter what. Whoops, I didn't mean to move it. So now we can look at and see that the ant is on the back of the box as it should be. But you can see he's not on the ground. So we want to get the ground even here, and then we can bring the ant down using this to get him right on the line. Now you can see that's at minus 0.2906, and it's a little too low. So let's go 0.28, and that's better, but not quite right. Let's go 275. So 75, and there our ant is standing on the floor. So now when we rotate our view, it looks like he's staying on the floor. And of course, well, the floor is now below, but we can move that up just like that. And you can see he's staying on the floor and where he belongs at the back. All right. So if we run our animation now, oh, and you can see we're in the workspace and we can see the camera moving, but we don't see the box moving. We see the layers changing, but we don't see any movement because the camera is what is moving. If we want to see it from the camera's point of view, we need to reset our workspace view to normal. And now when we hit play, we see our actual animation. And as you can see, our character is staying within the box just as he should be. He's only two-dimensional. He's up and down, left and right, but there's no depth to him. And so he can be right against the wall and not really be, against the wall. Now we can see his feet a little bit from underneath. So that's something we should fix. So watch right there. You see how we see his feet? So let's go back to the start. We grab the ant and we grab the layer. And let's just go 2.7. Get rid of the 5.0. And now let's run our animation. And we should no longer see his feet poking out. And we don't. So there we go. I got the character right at the right spot. And you can see as long as we move those walls, we can make things work. But you can see there the right wall is not correct at this point. Okay? So I missed this one altogether. So right here, we can still see the red. And right here, we can see the red more the other direction. So at this point, we're going to make the red switch. So the right wall needs to be above the floor at this point. And that does it. So there we've got the right wall covering and around the floor, and then the left wall. And that's all through adjusting the layer sort. Now you don't see the layer sort happening in the animation, but if you stop, you will see where they've moved to. So it's just simply not using memory to update the layers list while we're looking at the animation. But the moment we stop, you can see where we've moved things to so that we make it work. So right there, you see. So let's bring in another character. And so we're going to bring in another image, and that's going to be the ant pose 2. And we need to shrink this ant down, and you can see it's a different ant. We're going to shrink this ant down. Let's look at the other ant, and we can see we're at 27%, so we want to make this one exactly 27% as well. And now we should be able to drop it down minus 0.27. He should be on the floor, but he's not. So, why is he not on the floor with the same values? Well, let's just bring him on down so we can zoom in, and we want to make sure none of his foot is going below the floor. And then we hit reset on the view and then play. Let's take a look here, and we can see that the character is almost on the floor. I got the 1 foot a little bit high there, but he's on the floor even though the camera angle is changing constantly. So when we reset and we can see that the floor is covering his feet, that's not good. That means the floor should be below him at those points. So we're going to go to right here at the start. And at this point, the floor needs to be at the bottom because it's the floor. So if we leave it there and hit play, and then it moves at the point here. Let's see. All right, let's look at the layer, and we're going to take this out. I don't know how it got there, but that should fix our problem. Yeah. So there, his feet are on the floor. It goes up, the feet stay on the floor, and at this point, the floor should move, and it did. So now it's covering him, but his feet are staying where they belong. The floor is tilting under him in our point of view. So here we go. He's coming now. At this point, it's coming down, and the floor is again above the character. So all we need to do is move this floor, or actually, let's move the character above the floor. Both characters. There we go. So now they're both above the floor. And let's see if that transitions properly. Yes. Well, not quite. It's covering it here, isn't it? It looks like it is. Yeah. So let's look at the layer, and so we can see, yeah, this, let's just move this over to here, right at 5. So now as it comes down, the feet are on top of the floor. Okay, now we go across. The characters are in front. Now see, the floor pops up again here. We don't want that. So let's move this on over. Keep them in until when? It should stay there till here even. Maybe it shouldn't even move there at all. Let's take this out. Oh, because we removed the wall moving too. So let's go back to right there. So now we want the left wall to come up and be over the ants. So now we continue on. There we go. And it covers the character. Well, one of them anyway. They both didn't go far enough. So now we're back to here. And again, with this view, it should work fine no matter how we've got the layers when we're looking at the inside of the box. It's only when we move to the outside of the box that we've got an issue with where we need to move things. So now we can watch and see that both characters are staying where they belong, and we're getting parallax out of them. It looks as if the one in front is literally being looked around to see the one behind. So that's our parallax view. Let's go ahead and take it to one more level, and we're going to bring in one more character. So we'll bring in another picture, an image of ant pose 3, and we're going to drop the size down to 27% because they were all created from the same puppet And so they should all reduce to the same size. And there we go. And then we're going to move the y -1 to begin with. And that's way too much, obviously. Um, oh, we were at minus 0.27. So that's close, but we're going below the floor. Let's move the view so we can see the bottom edge of the floor there with that character. So you can see he's actually above it. So we're going to bring that on down. So we want that tool, and let's bring it on down. Too much. So 0.52 is too much. 0.27. Let's go 0.33. Not quite enough. So minus 0.45. Too much. 3.5. Not quite enough. Go 3.7. And there we go. That's close enough. So there's 3.7. And we want to bring the z towards us, so we're going to go 1. And that brings that character forward. So if we look at the workspace, we now have our 3 ants in line. Where can we see them from? Oh, here. So there. You can see all 3 from the back side. You can see all 3 of them in the back view there. But we're looking at them in the reverse positioning. So the farthest one is smallest, but is closest to us. So you can see we're not looking from the camera view proper like here. So there we go. Let's go ahead and reset our view and then hit play. And now we can see all 3 of them are staying within the box as it rotates based on our shuffling of the layers. And as you can see, we've got everything working. Now that's not the only way we can do things. If you don't like moving things around like that, we could redo all of this, and instead of doing layer sort, we would create 2 of every item, one set above the characters and one set below the characters, and then instead of moving the layers, we would turn the view off and on based on which wall we want to see. So let's save this, and we'll call this dimension 1. All right, and now I'm going to save it again so that we can change it, and we'll call it dimension 2. All right, so now I'm going to go back into this here and remove the enabling the layer sort. So we hit apply and OK. And so now these layers are going to stay exactly how they are no matter what we do in the animation. So you can see the walls are no longer cooperating. They're overloading the images of the ants. And the ants are 3-dimensionally placed, but each of them is a 1-dimensional image. But we can place the character exactly where the image is. So we could get this more complex by putting the actual characters here. But for now, we just want the characters to be on top of everything. So we're going to move this all down here below the characters. And we don't want the floor on top. We want the floor on the bottom. And we want the ceiling on the top. So now we've got our floor, left wall, back wall, right wall. So we're going from blue to green to red, basically. So I can zoom our view out so you can see the box more, completely. And so now we want to duplicate all of these. So we're just going to make a duplicate. And then we're going to drag them as a group above the characters. So now we've got the box showing again. Now, I don't want these sides to be identical to the ones that are on the bottom. So I'm going to go into each one, grab the color, and just change it. So on the brown floor, we're going to go with a lighter brown, obviously. On the left wall, so the blue wall, we're going to change it to a light blue. On the back wall, we'll change it to a light green. And on the right wall, we'll change that to pink. And for the ceiling, we'll choose that to be a very pale yellow. Or maybe even white. Let's go with white. It shows better than the yellow. So now, as we play our video, we're still only seeing the original box. Okay? Our characters are hidden because the main box or the duplicate box is on top. So it changed there for a moment where we could see the original box right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn off, we're going to start at the construction zone, and we're just going to make all of these not visible. Don't forget to hit apply, but you can go from one to the next and then just hit apply. So now we play our animation and we can see everything's working again except the walls are going behind the other ones. So all we need to do is stop it at each transition point where the wall is a line and change it so that the other one becomes visible. So right here at, whoops, so right there, the right hand wall, we want to make the right hand wall here become visible. And hit apply and then let it play out. And then here, right there, we want to make the floor become visible. So now we see the bottom of the floor. Now you can see it's only there for a very short time, and now we need to turn it off. So we're going to go here and go, don't make it visible. So now we continue and across, and then right here we're still getting the wall, but we're now in that, or the floor, but now we got that wall to contend with. So the wall becomes an issue at the moment it covers the ant. So we'll go right to here. So right here we want to turn the right wall off. There we go. But we don't want to turn it off. We don't want to turn it off here, actually. We want to turn it off the moment it flips here. So here's where we want to change it. So we're going to drag this to there. So now we don't get a pink wall, we get the red wall because we're now on the inside. And then as we come across and we hit blue, now we want to make the blue wall or the left wall visible. So we go here and apply. So now it'll be visible as it crosses on over. And then back. And now we want to make it not visible right there. And then we can continue on. So now we have the same effect that we had before, but we can actually see when the wall is changing from the outside to the inside. Now the red one, that one should have changed to pink, and it didn't seem to. Let's take a look at that again. So from right here, the right wall should be visible, and it is. So I think my color may be not good. Let's go back to this construction, and we're on this wall. We're going to select it, and then we want it to be pink. Now let's see. There we go. So now we can see when we're looking at the inside or the outside of the box, because the colors are changing as we go. And you could do the same thing with an interior, effect or imagery, and exterior imagery. So this could be the hole coming out of the anthole for them to be walking through. And as I said, we could stick characters in there instead of just images of the characters. And we could do animation with them, make them move around, even interact with each other if we wanted to, if we wanted to go through all that work. But that is basically how 2.5D works. We're not looking at a 3D image. So we're looking at the flat character, but they're moved into 3D space. And that's why we can say it's 2.5D. We're still dealing with flat characters, but they're able to be placed within the 3D environment. And you've got to remember, looking at your construction is different than looking at the camera. And in order to see the camera, you've got to reset your workspace. So now we've got all three characters in place, and let's zoom out so you can see the whole effect there. And we could zoom our camera in and out as well. So let's go to the beginning here, and we can just zoom our camera so it stays within our animation camera view. That's what this box is what the camera is showing us. So now we can hit play. And you get the whole effect of a cube box. I hope this helps you understand how Moho 2.5D works, how you can utilize it to make a 3D panoramic, or you're getting the effect of depth. What do they call that? That's parallax. So we're getting the parallax of the characters within the cube that we've built in 3D space, but our characters are still only 2D. We're looking at a diorama, and we can animate the diorama for sure. So this is how you can build 3D wall environments and such. Now, I have tried to use that 3D effect within a character. It does not work out well because as you move the character out of alignment with the camera, it changes what it looks like. So if we picked up the box and moved it out of the camera, you can see how it stretches the box. The more I move, the more that box stretches, because it's stretching away from our point of view. It's not actually stretching the character. And you don't want to try to adjust this to look right when it's out of the camera view. But when I added I was trying to use this as a head turn. And when I would move the character way over here, their head would stretch, but their body wouldn't. And so don't use these effects within a character that you're trying to make look more 3D. It doesn't work well. But as you can see, everything else does work well here. So again, we can reset our view and hit play, and you can produce this within your video. So I hope this helps you understand and helps you figure out how to use 2.5D to your preferred effect. So good luck, have fun, and if you like what I've taught you here, please click that thumbs up and please leave a comment. Tell me what you think of how I've done this, and if you think there's another way to do it, tell me. I'd love to know as many different ways that we can use Moho gives us the ability to do more. For instance, with doing it this way, I can make the outside of the box look different than the inside. Doing it the way I did before, the inside and the outside are going to remain the same no matter what. So again, there's multiple ways of doing things in Moho. You've got to decide which one works for what you are doing. So as you can see, the character that's in front never gets covered by any of the walls, but the other characters do. So it's a great effect, and it's not 3D, but it can give you parallax when you need it or want it. You don't want to have to manufacture it artificially. This way you can design the look and use it how you like. So if this was to be a building, if we wanted to make the box a building instead with windows and doors and such, the panels for the outside would look completely different than the panels for the inside, but they would still work together in the manner that I've set it up here, as long as you're using this method. So this is what I was working on this to do what I just showed you. So if we zoom out on our camera view, we want to stay within the camera view here, and we can zoom out. So we can see that we've got this stage. I built the stage with the floorboards and 2 walls, and 1 wall can be walked through by my characters. But this has got to be all within the stage. And if you look at my stage, there we go. So there's the stage, but the front of the stage, but the back of the stage is much different. It's much larger. And that's fine for the Begillagers. All of their buildings and accesses are larger inside than they could possibly from the outside. So that's basically what I'm working out here, is if this was the interior of a Begillager's home and then we have an opening, well, we don't want to see all this other stuff, and we couldn't animate the entire stage here with the walls sticking out there and the back walls sticking out the back there. So how do we get only the part of the stage we want within the stage view? So that's what I was working on, and I decided to share it with you. So first of all, I want to move the main stage over, because what we're looking at here is backstage. This is prop storage, and the controls for the lighting and all that will be back here. And then we're going to do a similar area over on the right. So we only want the stage to be showing a certain amount. So let's reset our view. And let's take a look at where, okay, there's the front of the stage. And let's hit play and see what we get. So yeah, I was rotating the stage, so you can see how that rotates through. And then there's the front, it's where it belongs. And then we've seen the back. Okay, so what we want to do now is take and make it where we're only seeing this part of the stage while it's activating. And you can see everything's really distorted at this point. So we're going to go to 1, and we're going to reset our view. So here we are, we're in the stage basically. Let's see here. Okay, so there's our stage. So what we're going to do, in order to not see all this extra stuff behind this stage wall, we want to put this all in its own group. And we're going to group with selection. And we need to be in the construction frame to do this. So we group with selection. This will be the new stage, our stage view. Let's do that. Stage view. Now, if you know how to do masking, that's what we're going to do here now. So we want the roof and the walls in front of it, and then we've got our stage view. Well, to do a stage view with a mask, we need a mask shape. So we're going to add a new vector at the bottom, and this is going to be stage open, or stage, yeah, open. All right, so now what we want is a shape that will only let us see through this opening. So we're going to draw a box on this layer that fits this right there. And you can see I made it pink. I didn't mean to. But let's reset this view. There we go. And let's rotate right to there. Okay. So we want that to be at the floor. So we need to bring the stage opening upward. So we're going to grab its layer, and we can use Y, and we're going to move it up until it's at the bottom of our stage opening there. And just to make it better shaped, I'm going to go ahead and hit G, and I'm going to grab this corner like here, and T, and I'm going to move this on over here like this. And the same over here. And so now we've got our opening. Let's move these up, and you'll see why in a bit. And so now we've got our opening that's matching our stage view. But if we look at the positioning, it's not against the stage, and we do want it there. So we're going to move its Z-axis forward until it contacts the stage view at the bottom right there. So now you can see it's not the right size. We're going to rotate back around, and now we need to shape it to that size and shape. So let's grab the points and just bring them where we need them. Now, why are we seeing the floor? We shouldn't be seeing the floor because the floor is below our stage opening here. So the back wall is. Let's move this above the opening. And now we don't see the pink at all. It's just poking out the bottom there. So now when we make that a mask for the entire stage view, when you make a mask, whatever's at the bottom of that layer is going to be your mask opening. And so I'm going to go in here for masking, and I'm going to hide all, hit apply, and now everything on the stage is hidden except what's coming through our stage view. And because we've set this up in 2.5D, we can literally look around inside the stage area just like that, and it stays within our stage walls or our face. We can build stage walls here and have them here just the same way. So we can put in external walls for the building, and we're still going to be viewing it through here. So now if we hit reset the view, there's how you can use XY orientation and create a 3D view. Let's go ahead and take that masking off. So now I can go ahead and work on my animation, bring my characters in, walk them across the stage, whatever. And then when it goes to production, the only thing that can be seen is what's in behind the actual stage. But we can rotate around like this to see what's in there, or we could enter the environment just like that. So we can move our point of view and adjust things to get things done. So you can see the two chairs and the couch, but they're all flat objects. Everything is a flat object. That's what 2.5D is. You can put them in three-dimensional space, but they're still going to be a one-dimensional object in that space. And both sides are identical. It's just the mirror image that you're looking at. So look at this tile right there and then there. So it's the same tile, but we're seeing it from each side. So just keep that aware when you're using these features. So that's all I've got for today. I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope you've learned something that can help you with your animation. If you did, hit the thumbs up. Say, I like this. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. And please join us the next time as we work on more Bugillagers, cartoons, and comics for Danger Aware. You have a wonderful day, and thank you for joining me.
Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Watch for the things that cause alarm. Watch for the one that would do you harm. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Please be alert and be aware of all the dangers anywhere. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Stand your ground and speak out loud. Let the world know harm's all around. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that lives next door. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one that you adore. Danger, danger. Danger, danger. Danger, danger, could be a stranger, could be the one